Hey guys, Lucas, Helix, Swirly Rock here, whatever you want to call me by. Man of many names, you would say. Today, I am too sick to go to my friend's Commander Night, so I'm instead going to do the deck tech for what I would say my favorite deck is right now, Tatsunari Toad Rider. Now, for those of you who don't know this card, it says whenever you cast an enchantment, if you do not currently own a creature named Kami, you're going to make a token named Kami. It's a 3/3 black and green frog creature token. And it says whenever you play an enchantment, you're going to gain 1 life, and all of your opponents are going to lose 1 life. It also has for a blue and a green and 1 mana, you can give it and a target frog creature, typically Kami, uh, that they can't be blocked by creatures that don't have reach or flying. So it essentially has flying, but no keyword for flying. And I think this deck is really cool for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason is I think it is at the perfect power level of like strong and can compete with strong decks without being like overbearing and is never at a table and everyone's like, oh my god, this deck's way too strong. Like I never want to play against this deck. It's one of my go-to decks to pull out. Yeah, so I'm gonna start with the land base. It's pretty simple, nothing too crazy. There's a decent number of basics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forests, a Yabi Maya. The most important colors of land for this deck are going to be green and blue, and I'll get into that later. So we're running 7 basic forests and a Yabi Maya. 1, 2 swamps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 islands. Fabled Passage, Prismatic Vista, Opulent Palace. This could be a Triumph, but I don't have any fetches in this list. So, well, fetches that would fetch a Triumph in this list. So, really doesn't make a difference for me. Evolving Wilds, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, as all of my kind of rainbow slash fetch lands. And then a number of Shocks, Morphic Full, Overgrown Tomb, Undergrowth Vista, sorry, Rejuvenating Springs, Overgrown Tomb, Sunken Hollow, Watery Grave, as a bunch of our dual and multicolored lands. Then we have Boseiju, Odawara, Takanuma, um, Bojuka Bog, Reliquary Tower, and Restless Cottage. Those are going to be our util lands for the list. Pretty quick, pretty easy. Something really nice to note is that since Kami is a legendary creature token, by having Tatsunari and Kami on the board, which are just your commander and playing 1 enchantment automatically gets you Kami, all of these are reduced by 2 for your Odawara, your Takanuma, and your Boseiju, which is really cool because it makes them very easy to use. Next, we're going to go over the instants and sorceries. There's not many of them because it's mostly enchantments, but you do need card draw. So, Painful Truths, I mean, simple. It's a 3-color deck. You want to focus? No? That's okay. It's a 3-color deck, deal 3 to yourself, draw 3 cards, quite good. Read the Bones, scry 2, draw 2. Yeah. Lose 2 life. Sign in Blood. That's it for the draw sorceries. Up next are just our instants. Basic Protection, Imps Mischief, Removal, Beast Within, Removal, Curse and Grip, and Basic Protection, Jawari Disruption. I'm not huge on counter spells. I kind of hate the color blue, to be honest, but we're going to use this to counter spells. So, yeah. Up next, we're going to go over a bunch of our enchantments. And I have them sectioned out here in a way that makes sense. Not the creatures. Okay. We're going to start with just, our good old draw enchantments. We have Phyrexian Arena, Enchantress's Presence. Every time we play an enchantment, we're going to draw a card, which is as good as you imagine it to be, since we're playing so many enchantments. Ramp and New Horizons, Wolfwillow Haven, Wild Growth, Gift of Paradise, Fertile Ground, Overgrowth, and Utopia Sprawl. Enchantments that are going to ramp us and also get us value through our Enchantresses effects. Our Kamis are always going to be good. That's why we play so many of them. As you notice already, this deck is a Drain Commander deck, so sometimes you really struggle against those life gain decks, or just, yeah, things like that. Our way through that currently, there's only one, which is the Ancestral Mask. Um, or obviously, you could just drain all their life gain, but Ancestral Mask really helps you just get in for that commander damage. Very nice for that. Keen Sense is just a 1 mana enchantment, draw a card when you hit people. Something important to note is we have some duplicators of our Kami. So the biggest issue with Kami is that he is a legendary creature. So we're going to do some funny things to be able to bypass that legendary rule. For instance, Vesuvian Duplimancy. Every time we cast a enchantment on target creature, we're going to make a non-legendary copy of it. So this allows us to help duplicate our Kamis. It's 3 mana and a blue. It's quite good. If you are playing against this deck, you instantly want to remove this. Another really good one is Endless Evil. And every upkeep, you're going to make a non-legendary copy, 1/1 version of the creature it's attached to. So again, just another way to duplicate non-legendary versions of Kami. Very good cards. After that, we're going to have some of our bread and butters of the list. Shimmering Silk, Shimmering Wings, and Whip Silk. Oh my gosh. Pretty much you don't really care about the effects on them too much. This gives your creature flying, or your creature reach. It's 1 mana and a green, but you can pay 1 green to just add it back to your hand, which means for all of your green mana, you put it down, you pick it back up, put it down, pick it back up, and you get a lot of value through your Enchantress effect. Same thing with Shimmer Wings. Its effect is a little more useful. It gives your creature flying, which is nice to get that good old, sweet old commander damage in if you really need to. Same thing, 1 blue, pick it back up. Very, very nice. We'll do more into those later, so I'm going to put them to the side for now. Off camera. Shark Typhoon, basic value engine. Every time you play an enchantment, get a token. Bear Umbra, great protection, allows you to untap all your lands, as you can tell. Mana generation and having a lot of lands is really important because it allows us to recur our Whip Silks and our Shimmering Wings a bunch of times so that we can do a bunch more damage. Snake Umbra, there's a bunch of ways to make your Tatsunari more, or whatever it's attached to, just easier to hit things. So this just allows you to, draw more cards. Paris Ghost Form, destroy Kami, gets exiled, comes back. Well, it doesn't work on Kami because, tokens go away, they're gone forever. The Tatsunari allows it to come back. Mana Bloom. I feel like this card I should definitely talk about because I don't see many Tatsunari players playing this. I think it's really good. So it enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it. Remove a charge counter and add 1 mana of any type, and the ability only happens each once. At the beginning of my upkeep, if Mana Bloom has no charges on it, return it to the owner's hand. So something really easy to do is put 2 mana into it, play it. It allows you to help you filter your mana, and then you use that 1 charge counter immediately so that you just do the mana, and then in your upkeep, you add it back to hand. It's a recurring enchantment you can play over and over. It allows you to do mana fixing. It's just really good. Every single turn, you're going to have an enchantment you can play with this, and nobody's going to remove it because, it's not necessarily a scary card that's worth the removal. They would sooner remove your Kami, your Tatsu, etc., than they would this. So it's just a really, really great recurring enchantment piece to always have one in your hand, practically no matter what. I'm a big fan of that card. Some of our basic draw is like combat research. It's essentially another Keen Sense. If you're trying to get more damage in, there's Roncore. Roncore's great. 1 mana enchantment. Love to see those. After this, we have some enchantment spot removal. Frogify, turn enchanted creature, enchanted creature, turn it into a 1/1 frog with no abilities. Kenrith transformation, turn it into a 3/3 elk with no abilities. Kesmina transformation, turn it into another 1/1 frog with no abilities. After that, we're going to show Witness Protection, turn it into a 1/1. What is it? White and green citizen? Yeah, white and green citizen with 1/1, no abilities. These 2 cards are pretty mean, but I think they're perfectly fine for this deck. Imprison in the Moon, you're going to enchant a creature, land, or a planeswalker, and you're going to turn it into a land that taps for a colorless. This is how you hold your opponent's commanders hostage. It's very mean because there's no way for them to block to kill it, unlike the other ones. So they have to find a way to destroy this enchantment, or they're going to have to find some land destruction. Same thing with Song of the Dryads, except it turns it into a forest. They're both 3 mana. Very good cards. Big fan of both of them. Um, I think it's kind of mean, but it's also funny to turn people's girlfriends into the moon. That's rough, buddy. After that, we have Seal, Primordium, 2 mana, sacrifice whenever, destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Just nice removal. Um, I think this card's also very mean. Meat Hook Massacre, but it's a board wipe and it's an enchantment. Slots really well into deck, very nice. And then this card I'm still unsure about. I think I might end up replacing it. Aspect of the Mongoose. It essentially gives your creature shroud, sorry, and when it gets put into the graveyard, put it back into my hand. So it's nice recurring if it gets destroyed or something like that. Very good card. Um, but I feel like there's just better options because sometimes you give your thing shroud and then it's like, okay, now I can't target it anymore. And there's a lot of things that benefit off of you targeting your creatures. You're playing Enchantress, Enchantment deck, Sanctum Weavers, a must have, gain a shit ton of mana. We already talked about why gaining mana is so good, so very strong. Enchantress effects, Eidolon of Blossoms, Setessan Champion, Viridian Enchantress, Argothian Enchantress. I mean, every time you play an enchantment, draw a card. You have a shit ton of enchantments. There's no reason you wouldn't play those. Like, you just have to. This card is wildly expensive, hence the proxy, because it's a 2 mana 0/1 that draws cards that they never reprint. It's good. It's not that good. I'm not gonna spend. I think it's like $40 on it. No. Another funny way that we get through our legendary rule, which we explained was a problem earlier, is the mutate mechanic. So if you mutate over a Kami, its name is no longer Kami, but it continues to have the effect of Kami. These are what I consider the best mutate creatures. You probably don't know what they do. This one ramps. It's mutate for 2 and a green. This one destroys a artifact or enchantment. It is 2 green and a colorless. This one ramps every turn. I like this one a lot. Parcel Beast. It costs a Simic, and you just 1 mana tap, ramp if the top card of your deck is a land. If not, you draw it. This allows you to put a permanent card from your graveyard back into your hand. Graveyard recursion's good. Costs 2 Golgari, hybrid, and 2 colorless. Draw a card, flying, 3 mana and a blue. And then this one has Splash, which is nice. If you get combat damage in, draw a card, and it's mutate for a colorless and a blue. So you're just going to put it over your Kami token after you finally get it. You get your Kami, mutate over it. You play another Enchantress while you have Tatsunari on the field, get another Kami, mutate over it, play another enchantment, get another Kami. All of a sudden, you're starting to multiply the amount of damage that you do each turn. Very good. You hear me sniffling, as I said earlier. I am sick and not going to Commander Night. Destiny Spinner. If you don't know this card, it says all of your enchantments can't be countered, or I think there's 2. Creatures and enchantment spells can't be countered. I mean, basic protection. Caliph, Beloved of the Sea. It essentially says that all of your enchantments and creatures are going to have Ward 1. Its power is equal to your devotion to blue, but that practically never comes up. Colossal Sky Turtle. This card's really funny. It's a big flyer for the late game, which is nice. Or it allows you to bounce an opponent's spell back to their hand, or sorry, a permanent back to their hand, creature, whatever. Or you can do more graveyard recursion, add a card from graveyard to your hand, and you channel it so it cannot be countered, which is a very nice thing. Give me just 1 moment. I'm gonna blow my nose. Okay. Herald of the Pantheon, not quite an Enchantress effect, but it makes all your enchantments cost 1 less, and you gain a life every single time you play one. Another way to multiply your damage from your pings with Grim Guardian. It's an enchantment creature, so you get all your enchantment bonuses, and every time you play an enchantment, and when it enters the battlefield itself, each opponent loses 1 life. Doomwake Giant. People hate me when I play this card, which fair. It's one of the board wipes. Every time you play an enchantment, all of your opponent's creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn, so it's going to beat their indestructibles, all that stuff, Very, very good card. Costs 5 mana, so it's hard to play it and get a bunch of your enchantments off in the same turn until the late game. it kind of wins the game a lot. Same with this card, Nihilius Colossus. Every time you play an enchantment, target creatures' power and toughness doubles until end of turn. This is another way to help you win through commander damage. And in general, just have really big swingers. Shigeki, I mean, just a good card. Fucking 2 mana enchantment creature, nice. 2 mana, tap it, add it back to your hand so you can recur it, and then look at your top 4 cards, mill them. If there's a land in there, it goes onto the battlefield tapped. Just good. I don't get to play this card too much. It's kind of expensive, but it's 6 mana, and it says whenever you play an enchantment, all of your opponents discard a card. Kind of like Doomwake Giant. It's kind of hard to get on the field and play a bunch of enchantments on the same turn. And if your opponents let you untap with this, like they're practically wanting to lose their game, or they're trying to kill you before them. This card's pretty good. I don't super love it, but there's some games where it pops off, some games where it does nothing. 6 mana, 6/6, flying, trample, very good. Once per turn, you can play an enchantment for not the mana costs. You pay the life instead. We gain a bunch of life because, we're playing a bunch of enchantments with Kami on the field, so you don't mind that too much. The big things you're trying to play with this are really just Thoughtseize Lamia and your Doomwake Giants and your Nihilia's Colossus. You want to play those for free so you can get a bunch of things on the board. Then things that make things cheaper, Podkey, Thought Vessel's ramp, Golgari Signet's ramp. These next 2 artifacts I think are really funny. The first one's going to be Boom Pile. If you don't know this card, I love to just jam it in practically every commander deck. I think it's really funny. Flip a coin. If you win the flip, destroy all land permanents. 4 mana. You can do this at any point at instant speed. You just put the ticking time bomb on the field, and then at any point you do this, if you win the 50-50 because you're the better player, everything dies, including the Boom Pile. I'm not running in this deck, but Heroic Intervention plus this card is really funny because in response to you flipping the effect or to you tapping it to do it, you can play your Heroic Intervention, but you have to do it before you know if it's going to destroy all permanents or not. But if it works, all permanents are destroyed and you keep your guy. Very funny, very cool. This card goes absolutely nuts in the deck. I think it even brings the power level a little too high if your opponent lets it sit on the field for too long. Cloudstone Curio. Whenever a non-land permanent enters the battlefield, or non-artifact permanent, sorry, enters the battlefield under your control, you may return another permanent you control that shares a similar type. All of those 1 mana enchantments that you guys saw before, including Whip Silk and Shimmerwing, are going to just kind of recur themselves. It halves the amount of mana that you are going to use for these things. Because say you have Kami on the board, or sorry, Tatsu, and a Kami. You put this down. Whip Silk, everything gets drained. Cool. Now you're going to put a Shimmerwing. Trigger, you're going to add a Whip Silk back to hand. Whip Silk, trigger, Shimmerwing back to hand. So you just get to recur your 1 manas for ever. It literally halves the amount of mana. And it makes it so that you're not restricted to Shimmering Wings and Whip Silk in order to keep that recurring process over and over again, which really helps the consistency of the deck. There's no infinites with this deck. If you really want to add an infinite, like Penance Aura and Freed from the Real, go infinite mana-wise with, what's her name? The enchantment creature that says, I think it's literally right here, Sanctum Weaver. You guys infinite with it, you just, which is cool, but I mean, I don't care for that. But yeah, that's my enchantments deck. I think it's a lot of fun. I love frogs. I think this deck's one of the perfect power levels. I have a lot of flavor in terms of my tokens, as you guys probably saw earlier. I have Polytoads. I use these to represent Kamies. I use some of these to represent the 1/1 frogs that I am turning my opponent's creatures in. And then I've got a couple Sharpedos for my Shark Typhoon. So yeah. Thanks for watching. And again, sorry if I sound bad because I'm sick.